the Next Death, someone who I've interviewed and very much enjoyed interviewing, someone who you work with closely for a few years, maybe in Continental as well as Memphis, and maybe even Florida, I don't know, the death of exotic Adrian Street. We've talked about Adrian before, but this one was rather a surprise. I think he passed away maybe a week before it was announced by Linda, and it was covered by a huge amount of like mainstream media, BBC, Guardian, The Independent, that kind of thing, around here. So suppose memories of Adrian Street.
Adrian, this is what Adrian had. He was a paradox of himself. You like that word, paradox? He was a paradox of himself. He went to the ring allegedly as a gay guy, but at the same time, he had a female with him. So when you were sitting back figuring out a fan, I wonder, is he really gay? But then you saw the girl, said, nah, he's not really gay. And he would sing songs. He sang a song about me one time. There's something strange about a cowboy. Oh, God. And what he was singing about is cowboys going out on the range, sleeping out there night after night. So what are they doing out there all that time? They're together with nobody else. So, and it was a good song. I guess you can still hear it on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's something, you ever heard that song?
I've watched it. There's a little video that goes with it as well. I think it was on Memphis TV once and someone's uploaded it.
Yes. There's something strange about a cowboy. And it was actually funny. But Adrian, he came out of the Wigan.
No, that's a misnomer. No. I asked him. Now, he didn't train at the Snake Pit, but he trained with a lot of people who did go to the Snake Pit. So he was basically Snake Pit by proxy.
Okay. But he knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
So when you went in the ring, and Adrian knew that if he went in as a gay character, a lot of guys would test him because they didn't want to be in the ring with a gay guy, or they didn't want a gay guy getting the best of them. And so he had to learn to actually wrestle. He had to learn to actually shoot. And he learned that. And I've seen some guys try him, and the next thing they know, they were face down with him with a sugar hold on them, and then ask them, did they want to continue the match?
Who tried him? I'd love to know who, if you remember any.
I don't remember. I remember this one guy. I don't remember his name now. He was a younger guy, and nobody ever smartened him up. But he went in. I think he was in his hometown or something, and I don't think he wanted to sell for it. Well, Adrian made him sell. Adrian beat the shit out of him, slapped him around. He embarrassed the guy that was trying to embarrass him, and he couldn't have done it, just by punching and kicking and trying to fight him. He just took him down and wrapped him up and put the sugar on him. And a lot of people said, what is the sugar? Well, the sugar can yank the whole arm out of the socket if they know what they're doing. Like, what do they call that when they drop in AAA? I mean, in the shoot fighting, when they go down with the arm between their legs and pull back on it?
No, an arm bar. It's sort of like, I thought the sugar hold was some sort of combination of like a full Nelson and like a camel clutch kind of thing.
Well, it can be a lot of things, whatever anybody wants to call it, but anything when you go, and that's why they're called shooters. Because when they shoot, boom, they can really mess you up. And he was good at that, especially against somebody who had never tried it before. That was easy for him. So when he went into the ring against somebody and they didn't want to cooperate, well, I'll just have to remind you that it's in your best interest to kind of work with me here before I break your arm. And he was always very nice with it. And I think he sang a song to them before he broke their arm. He was nice about it, But Adrian it was so easy to have a match with Adrian. He did the work. If you got in the ring with Adrian, he would sashay around the ring for 3 or 4 minutes, and he'd have those people so worked up. Now, I don't think you could have a gimmick like that today as a heel. I just don't think you could have it. I think there would be so much brushback on it. And the only one who could do that would be AEW, which they're not going to do that at all. That's a very woke wrestling company. And WWE, they're woke too, but you don't ever see it on screen that much.
Well, the problem is that you couldn't have that character now as a heel. You would have to have him as a good guy, and therefore,
yes.
And then the crowd would be obligated to only cheer. So then it'd just be a big old manufactured thing. Let me ask you a few more questions about Adrian. I don't think there's anybody out there, a wrestler out there, who has projected size better than Adrian. Because he was in the platform boots and stuff like that, but he was like 5'6", 5'7". He was really small, especially for the American audience, not for the British audience, because we had much lighter weight classes here. But I don't know if you agree with me, but like when he sort of got out there, got his hairs, pointed out, his shoes on and everything like that, he was 6 foot, and it didn't look out of place, which I think is amazing.
He had his pigtails up, and him and Miss Adrian, Miss Linda, they would go through getting him undressed, and it was a show just watching him do that. That's before you got into the match. That's why I said that, excuse my voice, ladies and gentlemen, I almost died over the weekend here with a summer cold, which is the worst type to have anyway. But he did the show before you could stand in your corner and just stand there. That's all you had to do, because everybody was watching Adrian. They're not watching you. So let him do his show. And actually, I enjoyed the show because they would add to it, different nights they'd do this, and they might. And I think I told them to do something else one night, so they did that, and that got over. But very easy to work with, but I've heard other stories about Adrian when he would get mad, he would really mess some guys up. He wouldn't hurt them as far as no return, but he would hurt them well enough that they know if the next time they tried it, he just had to go a little farther with it, they'd break their arm.
A couple more things about Adrian.
So I started taking a gun in the ring with me when I wrestled Adrian.
That's what you kept under your hat.
It's that English stuff, and you can't trust the Englishmen. You got to watch them.
Like Andre, I've written it. It's sort of like a special attraction, Adrian, because it's one of those things where, like Abby or Bruiser Brody or Andre the Giant, that he couldn't be one place for too long because it was a big old shock value when he was there, and it's sort of the law of diminishing returns. And I imagine that Adrian was rather well aware of this as well. So sometimes he'd come into Memphis for just a weekend, just from somewhere else, just to keep his name out there, and then go back to where he was, and then he'd move to. I think he went to Calgary first, and he went to Los Angeles. His runs were very short.
He came to Memphis and he stayed, I don't know, almost a year, I think. But that was the type of. So you couldn't bring Andre in to stay a year. He'd be so. People would get tired of him in 2 weeks. They've already seen what Andre can do. Abdullah, they can see, unless now Abdullah stayed a while in Canada, but he could still move then. And even Brody would go in Texas and he would stay there 6 months or do something like that. But those big guys, those big monsters, once they come through, there's no really telling a story with them, really, because they're so big and they're so powerful. If they didn't just smash everybody they were against, the answers would go, yeah, unless you had another big monster you brought them in against. Then, of course, now it's a clash of the monsters. But Adrian wasn't like that. Adrian could come in. He could do interviews. He'd sing. He'd dance. He'd talk about his opponents, and he would kiss them sometimes in the ring. And it's too much.
Not on the ring.
But
not on the ring, in the ring.
Oh, in the ring, not out of the ring. I don't think. But
it doesn't matter.
But but Adrian's private life, when he left the arena, he was gone. You never ran into him anywhere else. You may have passed him on the road, or he passed you on the road going to a town or a shot. But if you went out to a bar, you would never see Adrian in a bar, ever. Hell, I never even saw him at a grocery store. So I don't know. But he kept to himself mostly.
I'll just show this before we move on. I got him to send me one of his figures. I'll show this to you first, Dutch.
Okay.
And there you go. And whoops.
Hang on 1 second.
Dog's barked and he signed it to me as well.